Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this has been a really highly requested video that a lot of people have questions on. If you don't know me, or if you do know me but you don't know me well, a lot of people have requested that I record a video on what happened with my son Jackson. This is not going to be like a happy, peachy YouTube video. Like, it's not fun to talk about. I don't know if I'm going to get super emotional today or if I'm going to be okay. I have my days where I break down when I talk about it. And then other days I can talk about it and not just fall to pieces. So I wanted to record this video with my husband, but he travels a lot, and it's really hard to sit down and just film a video with him because he's home, but he's not home a lot. So I'm just gonna go ahead and film it myself. You guys are new here. My name's Meagan. I'm 21 years old. I have two babies, one in heaven, which is Jaxson Matthew, and then I'm currently 23 weeks pregnant with my rainbow baby, Trenton Parker. So I have two little boys, and yeah, if you're new here, subscribe. Today I'm going to be talking about my first son, Jaxson, who passed away. And I'm just going to kind of be telling his story. So it's really hard to even know where to begin, honestly, because there's a lot. Like, there's a lot that happened, and I don't even know if I will be able to share all that happened in one video. And it was a really crazy time, like, even up till he was born. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I feel like has slipped my mind because other things were so important in the moment. But I'm going to try to do my best to fit all the details in there, that way you guys understand. And yeah, so we're just going to jump in the video. So Jaxson was our miracle baby. Me and my husband tried for 3 years to get pregnant, and we struggled with infertility really bad. If you want to see a video on that, I have one on my channel. I'll link it below if I remember. If not, it's not very far down in my feed. But we tried for 3 years to get pregnant, and when we got pregnant with Jaxson, it was like we just couldn't even believe it. Like, he was the biggest miracle child ever. Like, we honestly didn't even know if we were gonna be able to have kids. It was a scary time, and it was a really hard time for us when we went through our infertility journey. But we got pregnant with Jaxson, and I mean, as some of you guys know, you struggle with infertility and you get pregnant, you are literally on cloud 9. Like, you are so thankful and so excited, and you want to do all the baby things, and you know, it's just amazing just to be pregnant. Like, if you never thought you were gonna get pregnant, like, it's so amazing just to be able to be like, I'm pregnant, you know. Like, it's just a very exciting time. So we found out we were pregnant with Jaxson, and of course we were thrilled and excited, and all of our family was excited and shocked. And so I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit. We went to the doctor to find out the gender of our baby, And our doctor told us he was 70% sure it was a boy, but he didn't want to confirm that until the next appointment. So, being the impatient person that I am, we went to sneaky peek ultrasound, or actually it's not sneaky peek, it was baby views ultrasound, close to where we live. And if you guys are familiar, like baby views and like sneaky peek is just an ultrasound place. Like they cannot diagnose anything. They're not allowed to tell you if anything's wrong. They have to call your doctor. They have to get in contact with your doctor. But so we went to baby views to confirm the gender because they have better ultrasound equipment and all that. And they told us it was a boy that day, and we were so excited. And our baby reveal, like we didn't do like a party or anything, but like we took pictures with a big balloon that said "Oh boy" in front of it and posted it on social media to tell everyone that we were having a boy. Like we were so excited and we were on cloud nine. And so we did that, and if I remember correctly, it was a weekend when we found out that he was a boy. And so Monday rolls around, my doctor's office calls me, and I'm gonna try not to get emotional. My doctor's office nurse calls me, and as soon as I answer the phone, I could just tell in her voice this. That something wasn't right, something wasn't okay. And she asked me if I was alone, and I was like, yeah, I was at work. She asked me if I was alone, and I was like, yeah, I'm alone. And she's like, well, I have some news to tell you, and I think you might need to sit down. And before she even told me anything, she said, now this might not be something to worry about, like you don't need to stress or anything like that until we can confirm anything. We don't know, but we heard that you had an ultrasound. I think it was on Saturday. I don't remember. We heard that you had an ultrasound on Saturday, and the lady that done your ultrasound seen some abnormalities, and she thinks something's wrong with the brain and the heart. And of course, like that's your worst fear as a parent, getting a call like that. And of course I just started crying, and she's like, it might not be nothing, like you just never know, like we just need to get you an ASAP to figure out what was going on and all that stuff. And at that time I was 17 weeks pregnant when they had called about that. So they got me in immediately, and the doctor did an ultrasound, and he told me I do see fluid on the brain and something is wrong with the baby's spine. But he told me the heart is too small at this point to pinpoint if anything is wrong with it. And he thought maybe spina bifida. And, you know, like, you can live with spina bifida. Like, it's not, I'm not saying it's not the worst diagnosis, but it's compatible with life. And so I was like, you know, we can do this. Like, it's going to be really hard, but we can do this. Like, everything's going to be okay. And so they scheduled us for an anatomy scan at the next appointment. And we went in for the anatomy scan, and the lady doing our anatomy scan started scanning, and I was literally just about to throw up because I just knew, like, they're not going to be able to see something on a small ultrasound and it'd be fine on a big anatomy scan. And so she starts scanning, and she sees the fluid on the brain and the spine, whatever was wrong with his spine. And then she seen, she could tell that there was a heart defect. But a regular OBGYN clinic can't diagnose stuff like that when it's so rare. So they sent me to a high-risk clinic in Little Rock, so they could do a more in-depth anatomy scan. So we go there. I think it was at 22 weeks. They didn't want to look or anything until 22 weeks. And we went there, and they did my scan and everything. And of course they're not allowed to tell you, like, the actual doctor doesn't scan you at first, so they're not allowed to tell you anything. Like, they just sit there kind of in silence and do their job, and then they leave the room. Like, they're not allowed to give you any hints of anything going on. Like, they're, you can't read their facial expressions, you know, so we just thought everything was okay. And I'm sorry. Take a break for a minute. So the doctor comes back in the room, and he sits down beside me, and he tells me that my son has something that is incompatible with life. He has Alobar Holoprosencephaly, which is where when your baby is forming, their brain doesn't divide into two parts like a normal child does, and that in itself is incompatible with life. And he tells me that babies with Alobar Holoprosencephaly, which is the worst form of each HPE, that they don't usually make it through the pregnancy, that they usually die in utero. And if for some crazy reason he made it through, he would deliver early. And if before he got there, he would die. He would be stillborn. And if for some crazy reason he made it full term, he would be dead before I delivered him. And all I've wanted since I was a little kid is to be a mommy. Like, that was my life goals, is to get married and have kids and be a mommy. And in that moment, all of your hopes and dreams are ripped away from you. Like, it's just like someone yanks everything from you. Robs you of everything that you've ever had a desire of having. Or when you get pregnant, you just expect a healthy pregnancy. You just expect that in 9 months you're gonna have a perfectly healthy child, that nothing's ever gonna go wrong. You don't imagine that you're gonna bury your child. I did not want to get this emotional, but I'm just being real with you guys. This is the life of losing a child. It is so hard, and the struggle never ends. It's the worst thing you'll ever go through in your life. Like, I wouldn't wish this on the worst enemy that I had. I wouldn't wish this on the worst person in the world, because it is so hard. It destroys you. We were told this news. Of course, they wanted me to abort Jaxson. Like, people, they just don't, they see it as, this child is not going to be a normal child. It's not going to be a healthy child. Even if it did live, they told me that he's going to be a vegetable. Like, he's never going to do anything. He's never going to show emotion. He's never going to show compassion. Like, just the worst things that you could possibly hear. They told me, and they wanted me to abort him, but no. Like, God makes all things perfect. He formed Jaxson with his own hands, and he made him in his perfect image. God made Jaxson to be the way that he was, and he was so beautiful, guys. He was so beautiful. He was different. He wasn't like everybody else, but he was the most perfect child I had ever seen. He was beautiful, and he was perfect, and he was sweet. And he was my baby. He was my baby. And I would have took care of him. I would have raised him until my last breath. I would have took care of him. I would have carried him all over my house. Like, he was my baby. So fast forward. Again, they did blood work. and they found out that he had trisomy 13, which is a separate diagnosis, chromosomal abnormalities, which is a totally separate diagnosis for the most severe form of HPE. And HPE, Alobar HPE, is incompatible with life itself. Trisomy 13 is incompatible with life. It's around like the same thing. They die in utero, or they don't make it very long. So that's just another thing added on top of his diagnosis that was another for sure thing that he wouldn't live, that he probably wouldn't even be born. And I don't remember the timeline of these things. When you're going through something like this, you don't remember the timeline. You just remember being told horrible, horrible things that you're never gonna forget. So they confirmed that he had trisomy 13. And then we went back later for another appointment. It was a cardiologist. And we found out that he has truncus arteriosus, which, if a normal baby had truncus arteriosus with nothing else wrong with him, they could have done surgery on him. They could have fixed him. It would have been a hard surgery on a newborn, but they said it's a fairly easy surgery with great success. So that was fixable. The heart defect was fixable. And after that, we started meeting with doctors to get a plan together in case I went into labor early. And with what Jaxson had, it was so rare that they needed a team of doctors that knew what they were doing, that specialized in that specific thing. The Alobar Holoprosencephaly, that in itself was so rare that most people don't even know what it is. If you had to go to the ER and tell them, hey, my kid has Alobar HPE, they'd be like, what? Like that's how rare what he had was. It was just crazy that something that rare would happen to me and Matt. Like, it was just insane. Like, it was nothing that we did or something that I could have done differently to prevent that. It's just something that happens randomly and just so rare. But yeah, it was insane. Every appointment that we would go to, it would just be horrible news, and we just couldn't enjoy our pregnancy. Like, I mean, I enjoyed feeling him kick and, move around, but like, as far as going to appointments, you never got good news. Like, you never got like, he's doing good considering, or anything like that. It was just like, they were telling me how bad it was going to be when he was born every time I went, and it was just horrible. And so I decided to get a prenatal MRI done. That's very, very in-depth. It's a better diagnosis than an ultrasound. So I went and got that done with Jaxson, and we found out that his nose was very messed up, which is like babies with HPE, most of them have cleft lip, cleft palate, like their nose bone is gone. They're very close set together eyes. Some of them even are born with one eye in the middle of their head. Like, it's a very abnormal thing. And So they figured out that his nose bone was gone and that he wasn't going to be able to breathe very well when he was born anyway, on top of everything else. And I'm just going to skip forward now because like there's a whole bunch of stuff, but it's pretty much the same stuff that I've already talked about. Fast forward to 33 weeks. I had a regular doctor that I went to. I chose to go see him just because like I loved him, and he just made me feel light in such a dark situation, where when I would go to the high risk clinic it was all bad. There was nothing good to say. Like, you know, they wanted me to abort him pretty much. And so I went to them, and I chose to go to my regular doctor that I had been to before. And he's just a really good Christian man, and he is awesome. So I decided to go to him, and he would always uplift my spirits. Every time I would go to his office, I would feel better when I left than I ever did. So we chose to go to him too. And so our appointments were like a week apart. So we went to him for a regular checkup, and as soon as I got there, they checked my blood pressure. And my blood pressure was like through the roof. And I had no idea. Like you couldn't have told me something was wrong with me. I was very swollen. I didn't think nothing about it. Like, I just thought it was pregnancy. And, you know, because pregnant women get swollen, like their feet and their ankles get swollen. Like, I never thought anything about it. And they weighed me and they sent me to his office. Like, are you swelling? And I was like, well, yeah, but I thought that was normal. And he asked if I had been like drinking a lot of water, or, you know, anything. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, your blood pressure is sky high, and I think you've developed preeclampsia. And he's like, we're gonna let you sit here for a minute, and then we're gonna take your blood pressure again, and we'll go from there. So I didn't really know like what that meant, like how bad that it was. And they take my blood pressure again it's sky high. And so he comes back in and he's like, listen, you're gonna have to deliver Jaxson today. And I was like, what? Like, what? Like, I already have a baby that's not healthy. Like, babies with trisomy 13 and HPE, they don't grow like normal babies do. At this point, Jaxson hadn't gained weight in like 3 weeks, so he was, I think he was 4 weeks behind. I can't remember exactly. So he was already smaller than a 33-week normal baby, and you don't want to have a baby at 33 weeks. That's dangerous. And so he told me, like, your blood pressure's high. It's dangerous for you. It's dangerous for the baby. It can kill you both. We're sending you to the hospital right now. You need to leave from here, and you need to go straight to the hospital in Little Rock, which is like 30-45 minutes from where his office is. So literally, we went from a normal 33-week checkup to straight to the hospital. And I can't even, like, I was in shock, but I was so terrified. Like, I knew the outcome already. We trusted God for a miracle, and we prayed that God would intervene and, you know, heal him completely. But we also knew that sometimes that's not in God's plan. Sometimes that's not God's will. Sometimes he's ready to take babies home. So we prayed, and we we believed in the healing of God. I've seen it firsthand. I grew up in church and I've seen people be healed from the craziest things. I know God can do anything. I've seen it. But I also know that sometimes it's not in God's plan to heal somebody miraculously. Sometimes He's ready to call somebody home, and we'll never understand why He does the things He does. But God is good, and He is always good, and He walks you through the worst times of your life, and He holds your hand through everything with Jaxson. God was always right there. He was always with us. We wouldn't have made it through without being close to God. And I know a lot of people don't believe in God, and that's fine. It's just my personal belief, my husband's personal belief. I'm not trying to push that on you. I just know from personal experience of what I've been through, God's been so good to me. And He's walked me through the worst times of my life when I don't know where I would have been if God wasn't in my life, if God wasn't holding my hand. Because I've been through some scary times, and I've been through some really dark places, and God has always walked me through. And here I am today. I lost my first child, and God walked me through that, and He was with me in that every step of the way. And I can honestly just flat out tell you that it was all God that got me through that, because I don't know how I would have got through that if it wasn't for God. But so we got to the hospital, and we called all of our family. We have family from 2 hours away from there, and some even longer than that. So we called all of our family and let them know that we were most likely delivering Jaxson that night. And at this point, we thought we were delivering C-section. There was a lot of things that the hospital told us that we could do, but everything changed when we got there pretty much to what they wanted to do. And I understand, it's their job and stuff, but they don't need to give people false hope. They had told me before that Jaxson might be able to have his heart operated on if he was strong enough and stuff like that, but before they told me that they would not be able to do surgery on his heart, that he would never be strong enough, and that was just it. And I called them back, and I was like, listen, I'm a mom, this is my child, I'm gonna fight for him until I die. If he is strong enough, I have faith in God. If God wants to do a miracle and he is strong enough, will you operate on his heart? And so she called and got different opinions with different cardiologists, and never really called me back. But it was very fast because I had to go into labor to have him. So we got to the hospital, and I thought at this point that we were having a C-section and that he had a chance maybe to get his heart operated on. But so that was on our list, and we had a whole birth plan wrote out. And we pretty much had to, we went in, they did my blood pressure and all that stuff, and they put me in a room, and they pretty much started my labor. And there was lots of big, huge decisions to be made. They pretty much, they might as well have thrown my birth plan away. And I'm not trying to like badmouth the doctors or whatever, but when you're in a situation like that, it's really hard when you thought you had everything planned out the way you wanted it and you have to completely change it into something somebody else wants. And don't get me wrong, like there wasn't options for Jaxson. There was no good options for Jaxson, so like what else am I gonna be able to do? So they started my labor, and guys, I'm so mixed up on this because I wasn't focused on anything else, and I was in a room the whole time, so I don't know exactly how many hours I was in labor or anything like that. But I got an epidural before I even felt any contractions because I was terrified. And so I had an epidural early on, and I had blood pressure medicine. I couldn't get out of bed anyway, so why not get the epidural? You know, whatever. So I had my epidural, and I had the blood pressure medicine and all that stuff. And I can't even remember exactly how fast I was progressing or anything like that, but we started having to make big decisions on like just everything, and we had to decide if we wanted to monitor his heart through while I was giving birth to him, because I mean he was already a high risk baby, like he could die while I'm giving birth to him. They literally told me like we have to take you straight to C-section if his heart drops, if we're monitoring. So me and Matt together decided that we didn't want to monitor his heart while we were while I was in labor or while I was having him, because I just didn't think that I would be strong enough to like push him out if I knew that he wasn't alive. So we decided not to. We didn't know if we were gonna have a baby that was alive for a few minutes or a baby that was dead already. And I don't regret any decision that I made, or me and Matt made. We know we did the right thing now, and we don't regret any decisions that we made. So, and nobody has the right to judge the decisions we made either, because it was what was best for us at the time, and nobody knows until they go through what we went through. So, yeah, we don't regret any decisions that we made. So, I'll just skip forward because a lot of the stuff is just irrelevant. I got to about, I think it was 5 or 6 centimeters dilated, and I was like doing good and everything, but I was really sad because my dad was gonna have to leave and go to work, and he has nobody to cover him. So I just knew that he wasn't gonna get to meet the baby. So when they checked me and I was only like 5 or 6 centimeters dilated, I just started crying because like I knew that he wasn't gonna get to meet him, and my dad's like really, really important to me, and that just made me really sad. And I knew he wasn't gonna live long if God didn't heal him, and so I just knew Dad wasn't gonna get to meet him, and I was just really sad and hurt about that. And so I was crying about that, and finally I got so upset that they kicked a lot of people out of the room, and they just wanted me to rest. Like they just wanted me to just lay down, close my eyes, go to sleep, whatever. Because my blood pressure was crazy again, and I was stressing out, and obviously like everything that was going on was just like a crazy situation, and I was stressed out and just, it was horrible. So they kicked everybody out of the room. It was like all of my family and all of Matt's family and like other people too, and we have a lot of family. There was a lot of people there. It filled up our whole room. So They kicked all those people out, and there was like just a few people in the room with me, and I went to sleep. And I slept for, like, I maybe slept for 10 minutes, and I woke up, and I was like, I can feel I can feel contractions, and like I hadn't felt anything the whole time. Like, I can press my epidural button every 10 minutes if I wanted to, so I kept pressing it, and finally I was like, okay, I think that my epidural's wearing off. And I swear, like 5 minutes from there, I was in, like, I felt everything. I could lift my legs off the bed. My epidural had worn completely off, and that also wasn't good for me because I was screaming and my blood pressure was already like skyrocketing. So they called the, I can't even think of what it's called. I think it's the anesthesiologist that does the epidurals, called him back in to give me more epidural. And at this time, I was screaming, like screaming. I went from a 6 to a 10 in like 20 minutes. And so I felt every bit of that. I was screaming at the top of my lungs, and this guy tries to give me more epidural, and he looks at me and he looks at the nurses and he's like, there's nothing I can do, it's not working. So at that time, it was time to push Jaxson out, and I felt everything from the 6 to a 10. I felt literally everything. And so I'm screaming. I'm sure everyone in the whole hospital could hear me screaming, but obviously, like, I had a good reason to be screaming. I was delivering a baby naturally. But yeah, I started pushing, and he was here in like not very long, and he came out and they laid him on my chest, and I've never felt so much love in my life. Like, I never felt a feeling like that. Like, you love your nieces and nephews, but there's nothing compared to your own child. Like, nothing. And they laid him on my chest, and I remember saying, he's so beautiful, he's so beautiful, oh my god, he's so beautiful. Like, that's the number one thing that I said. Like, I love you so much, Bubby, mommy loves you, mommy loves you. I just remember repeating how beautiful he was and how much mommy loved him, and just kissing him and loving on him. And he was alive. Like, he was moving around and he was opening his little mouth. He couldn't cry because he was too weak, but he moved around and he opened his little mouth and he made like a little squeaky sounds, and he was so precious. And Daddy was so proud of him. Daddy was just like, you could just tell, like, the love in Matt's eyes was just like beyond anything I ever seen, and he loved him so much. And so as soon as I delivered him, you know, it was me, my mom, and Matt in the room, and a whole bunch of doctors. But as soon as I delivered him, I literally had enough time to get him on my chest, and we were holding him, and they delivered my placenta. And as soon as they did that, they threw the covers over me, and everybody came in. And Jaxson got so much love. Like, he felt nothing but love for him when he was born. Like, the whole family and all of our friends were just gathered in this big room. Like, there was people all around me and Matt. And I gave him to somebody, and I told him, like, pass him around, like let everybody hold him and love on him and pass him around, because I knew it wouldn't be long. And he was alive while everybody held him. And so one by one, everybody held him and loved on him and kissed him and hugged him, and like he just knew how much he was loved from the minute he was born until he passed away. He was loved, and he felt that. Like, that's all he ever knew was love. And so me and Matt, Daddy, I say Matt, but Daddy, and my mom and my dad and Matt's mom and Matt's dad and siblings and sister-in-laws and brother-in-laws. I mean, everybody held him, my friends, like, everybody held him and loved on him. And as soon as they passed him back to me, they checked his heartbeat and he passed away. And he lived for 42 minutes, so he got 42 minutes of pure loving from everybody, and everybody loved him so much. You could just see it written all over their face how special and precious he was. He was perfect. Like, I can't even explain the perfection that he was. He was beautiful, and he was so sweet. And I never loved anybody like I loved him. I'm just so thankful that I got to have him for those 42 minutes. He changed my life, and he changed my whole world. And he changed his daddy's whole world. He was beautiful. And he was heaven sent. He was too good for earth. He was, like, but he went to be with Jesus, and I can honestly tell you that Jaxson never struggled. Like, when he passed away, it was so peaceful, you could not even tell he had passed. Like, he never struggled for air. Like, he never was in pain. Like, he was so peaceful, and he passed so peacefully. Like, it was all God. Like, it was the most peaceful thing that you'd ever seen. It was all God. Like, I'll just never forget the peace and calm in that room. I just don't feel like it's not like that when a baby passes. It's not, but God was just, him and his angels were in that room with us, and I felt it. Like, nobody can tell me any different. If you were in that room, you know that. We're just so thankful for the 42 minutes that we got with Jaxson, and it changed our lives forever. And he changed so many people's lives. Like, we were very public about Jaxson. We always shared everything that was going on with him, and he touched so many lives because we chose to share with people his life and everything that we went through with him. And it was just amazing, like, the influence that he had in just his little short life. People don't have that kind of influence in their whole life. He was a miracle. He was the miracle that we prayed for. It wasn't healing. Healing wasn't the miracle for him. He was the miracle himself. And he was beyond what we ever imagined. And we're so thankful for him. I'm so thankful that we chose to go through the pregnancy with him. We never had a moment where we thought, well, you're going to abort this baby, or we might abort this baby. We always knew that we were going to keep him. But I'm so thankful we decided to go through with his pregnancy, and he changed our lives forever. He brought us so much joy. Like, I know it sounds crazy because everything that we went through with him, but he brought us so much joy and happiness and love. Just, he was so amazing, and I'm just thankful for him every day. But I think that's pretty much all of Jackson's story. We love you so much, Jackson, and we're so happy that you get to be with Jesus now and you get to be happy and healthy and whole. It gives us such peace and joy knowing that you are with God and you are happy and you're not suffering and you're not in pain, and you can walk and you can talk and you can run and you can play with other little kids. We are so thankful for you, and we've always been so thankful for you. You're a precious baby, and you always will be. We talk about you every single day. There's not a day that goes by that we don't talk about you and keep your memory alive, because that's what me and Daddy love to do. We love to talk about you. We love to just keep your memory alive like you're still here every day. Mommy and Daddy love you so much. Love you. We love you so much.
I lose my breath whenever I see you. You stole my heart, what is it that you do? My life was great till you added colors. Like the moon needs the sun, we don't care about the others. You set my world on fire. You're my heart's desire. I just wanna love you, just wanna hold you, just wanna be with you till we grow old. Please tell me you'll stay or take me away. I want you for myself every single day. You set my world on fire. You set my world